Hey guys, welcome. Hello. Hope you're all having a lovely weekend. So my name is Kayla and I'm a Stampin' Up demonstrator from Tasmania in Australia. And I am coming live to you today, although it is a pre-recorded video. So what that means is I have recorded this ahead of time and just scheduled it to go live. And the reason for that is because I'm in Brisbane. So I'm in Brisbane at a Stampin' Up conference with a bunch of other demonstrators. And I'm sure, even though I'm speaking for the future, I'm having lots of fun. And no doubt I would have shared some of that here. Well, I hope I have anyway. So chime in the comments and let me know that you're watching and where you're from. I'd love to know. And thank you for supporting my channel and watching. I always appreciate those that come along with this journey with me. So this week I thought, because I'm at the conference and part of going to that means I get to see the new annual catalogue. So if you're not aware, Stampin' Up release an annual catalogue every year, along with some mini catalogues as well. But this is the current annual catalogue. This is still current when this video is going live, but when this video goes live, I will have seen the new catalogue, which comes out in May. So we see it a bit ahead of time. It's one of the perks of being a demonstrator. We also get to order from it early, which is cool. You can do that too if you join my team. So the way to join my team is to hit the link in the comments, and you can head to a page on my website where it will tell you all the jazz about how to join, why it's awesome, why you don't have to sell or demonstrate. You can just enjoy the discount, all of that jazz. And even if you don't run it as a business, you can still come to those conferences and events and meet a whole bunch of like-minded crafty souls. So in this catalogue, every year we have a cool, and I'm still getting my head around, I'm hoping I'll be able to navigate the new catalogue, because to be honest, I'm an online person. I tend to not really utilise my paper catalogue that much, which I really should. But anyway, in here somewhere, I probably should do the sensible thing and check out the index, but you know, who would do that? Not me. So in here somewhere, I'm sure. I'm used to the older style catalogues where everything that I'm looking for that I can't find here is actually in the back. But anyway, they release 5 new in colours every year. But when they release the 5 new in colours, here we go, this is the page I want, 139 to be specific. When they release the 5 new in colours, the 5 previous 2 years leave. So this was the colours that got released with this catalogue, which are amazing. And this was from the year before. So these ones will be leaving us in May to allow for the 5 new in colours. Now, the reason I decided to focus on this week is because I will have seen the new 5 in colours that are going to go in this box. This one's going to move to here. So we get another year of this one. So Copper Clay, Wild Wheat, Boho Blue, Moody Mauve and Pebbled Path will all be leaving. So if you love any of those colours, I suggest that you stock up on things like your blends, your ink refills, your cardstock, etc. So I thought I'd just mention that. It's so, you might wonder why they get rid of colours. Well, they need to make way for the 5 new ones, and the in colours are a way of staying on trend. So the cool thing about Stampin' Up is we have colour families. These colours stay. It's very rare that they change these up. Occasionally we have a colour refresh, but these are the ways that we keep really fresh with some new on-trend colours. So I thought I'd just mention that first. So what I thought I would do, because I don't want to quickly bring in these new colours and forget about those ones that are leaving. So today I'm going to show you some cards made as my kind of last goodbye to these colours. So I have done some monochromatic cards, which is really funny because last week was monochromatic as well, but they had a few different colours. These ones really focus on one colour. So we've got our Boho Blue with this beautiful card, and then some Pebbled Paths. This is like a really darker grey. And then this one, I've got a story about this one. This is Moody Mauve and Wild Wheat. I love Wild Wheat so much. And Copper Clay. If you had to ask me my 2 favourites, out of these 5 in colours. And before I tell you, you'll have to pop in the comment box, tell me what your favourite colour is that is leaving. Or tell me both. Tell me your favourite colour and your least favourite of these ones, because really, really funny, when I was making these cards, I knew that Wild Wheat is my favourite out of these colours. It's a close tie between Wild Wheat and Copper Clay. They're my 2 favourites of these. My least favourite is Moody Mauve. Now, what I thought was funny is that when I made these, I actually opened my packet of A4 Moody Mauve cardstock for the first time. Now, I'd like to tell you, I've had these colours for 2 years, but I have used Moody Mauve, but I used it out of the assortment pack that I originally got, which I think has 4 or 5 sheets of that cardstock, which means that I have only in 2 years used that much. That's how much it didn't sit well with me. I couldn't seem to use it in my projects. But then I made these cards and I got playing with it and I love it. And I've only just discovered this when it's about to leave. So I don't know, has that ever happened to you? Have you not liked a product or a colour or something, and then when you've gone to use it, realise that you love it? I could not believe, as I was sort of sponging, I thought, this is not Moody Mauve, this is Blackberry Bliss. And it wasn't, it's just the mauve. So I really quite liked it. I've also done a little inside to these cards. I thought while I'm going and mass producing these, I thought I'll make a pretty inside as well. I've used a couple of additional products, which I will show you. And then we're going to make one of these together this week. So, and guess what colour I've picked? So I'm only going to make one of these to do it with you, because you can see what they look like in all those colours. But I've chosen to do Moody Mauve with you because, you know, I did not show this colour enough love. So that's what I'm going to make with you this week. And I'm just going to pop back over here. So thank you to all those that sent me messages, by the way, and I've been speaking to lots of people about the price increase on the cardstock, and all of your feedback is very welcome, because I have included some of that feedback in my letter to Stampin' Up, but the price increase is still going to happen regardless. So what I'm talking about there is the saying goodbye to the basic white thick cardstock. If you don't know what I'm talking about, head back to my page, which you'll see on my Facebook page. If you're watching on YouTube, you'll see a link to my Facebook page in the video description. I touched on it briefly in my last video last week, that there will be a price increase happening with this new catalogue that I'm actually seeing at the moment in Brisbane. Here's just a quick little graphic about it. The increase will be in Australia, I can only talk for Australian prices, will be $4.75 per packet. And that's nothing really, that's out of Stampin' Up's hands. It's a lot of raw material rises with the cost of the raw material and producing this cardstock. It's very good quality cardstock. I have done a lot of comparisons to other brands that are comparable, and it's still really competitive pricing. There are a couple of changes within the line, however, that are good to note. So Basic White Thick A4 is going. It's being replaced by Basic White 12 by 12 thick, which is very different. And the basic white cardstock that's not thick, it's just the standard, will be reduced from 40 sheets to 24. So a couple of changes to take really good note of. I would suggest stocking up on cardstock before that change happens, because you can get it for a bit of a cheaper price. At the moment, as I'm doing this video, the Basic White Thick and Basic White 12 by 12 are all out of stock. They're due to come back on the 17th of March, but that may change. So keep an eye out. I will post it on my Facebook page. And obviously it's a bit hard to talk about dates when I'm pre-recording a video, but I always will keep that information up to date on my page. The other couple of things to note for March is that we have new online exclusives available now. Lots of really cool products. I love that Stampin' Up are now doing the online exclusives, because it does mean that we get new product more frequently, so you'll quite often see that store refreshed. I also have notes about the Stampin' Rewards program. So if you shop with me, and if you've shopped with me before, I believe you should be okay, because you will have an online account. When you log in to your online account, you will just need to tick the box that says you're opting in for those Stampin' Rewards. And that just means you're accepting the program. You want to earn those dollars to spend, which, hey, who wouldn't? So that you can see more information about this on my page as well. This is my tutorial for March for the Global Creative Project. If you want to purchase it, it's 22 Australian dollars. You can purchase that wherever you are in the world, and that will be up on my website. You'll see my little shop page on the front page of my website, which I've just popped up on the screen. Otherwise, if you shop with me in March, you'll get this for free as a gift to your inbox. So I think that's pretty much it. I'm going to jump back to my desk and we're going to talk through this card. So I have used on this card the Sketched Butterflies bundle. I just want to see if I've got... So this has a stamp set and some matching dies. And I get so busy during the year that I often forget to use some bundles. And I've used this one before, but not as much as I would have liked. I love the beautiful detailed design in this. Still available. You can find it under item code 163490. That's the stamp set code. I believe that there would be a bundle code, but you can see all the products I've used linked down in the YouTube description if you're watching on YouTube, or it will be on the blog post, which will be linked in the video description. You can always see my supply list. I'm also using this really cool brand new die. So this one's from those online exclusives I just shared. And this is a very different kind of die. So as you can see, it's one die. It's quite a thin plate die. And this actually doesn't cut. It leaves this really cool impression on the back. So if you can see that, it's like a texture plate design. So really, really cool. The other thing I used is these Everyday Arches dies. These were an online exclusive from the release before. I did notice as I'm recording this video, they have gone out of stock and they're due back early April. That may change, but they're definitely coming back. These are a great basic to have. They have a couple of matching stamp sets that go with them, but really, really good one to have in your stash. And you're going to see me do something cool with these. So I think that was about it. I'm going to put those to the side now and we're going to get started. Don't forget to tell me in the comments, even if you're watching the replay, which of these is your favourite colour and which one was your least favourite. Love to know. So which one are you not going to want to say goodbye to? So we're going to make just this one today. So just the Moody Mauve. I've got some of my pieces cut out and some I'm going to do with you. So when talking about the retiring ink colours, the things that I would suggest stocking up on, if you've already got the ink pad, get an ink refill, get some cardstock, and things like you can actually refill these markers with an ink refill, so you wouldn't have to worry about that necessarily. But these blends you cannot refill. So if you need some new blends, I'd grab them while you can. Now, things like colours, when they're going to be retiring, go out of stock very quickly because everyone's going to do the same thing. They're going to go in and get those colours before they can't get them anymore. So I'm just going to pull out my pieces. I've got a basic beige, which this was actually a new core colour that came in with the release of last year's catalogue, and I've loved it. It's kind of my new crumb cake. I don't know if anyone else feels like that about that colour, but I love it. So I've got a couple of my bits and pieces here. I've got 2 pieces of Moody Mauve that are my larger layers, and you will see all of the sizes and dimensions in the PDF that you can download. So every week when I do these free videos, I come and I also add a free PDF download, which will have the measurements in both metric and imperial. I've got a piece of just normal basic white, and that's for the inside. And I have a piece of smaller Moody Mauve, which I'm going to put on that press plate die. So I'll do that in just a moment. I'm going to leave that one out. I have a scrap piece of basic white, which I'm going to stamp my butterflies on. And I also have pre-cut these arches. This one is I believe it's the 4th largest. Yes, it is. So the 4th largest is approximately 7.5 by 11, which in inches is, let's have a look. Oh no, that's not inches. I don't have the inches side up. And I have taped that down, but let's have a quick look. So it is 3 inches by 4.25 roughly. So that's the size that I've cut from the arches. Now, I have cut it 4 times from Moody Mauve cardstock. So I've got 4 of those pieces. And I've also cut it once from this really cool paper that I think is really underlooked in the catalogue. And it's a wood a wood textured paper. So I thought that was really pretty. And I always like to use up my stash when we're coming to the end of a catalogue. It may carry over, I'm not 100% sure. So that's the pieces I've got ready there. But what we're going to do first is our butterflies. So I'm going to pull in this scrap piece of white, and then I want to take this large butterfly and also this more medium-sized butterfly. And I've got my piece of white. I want to grab in my embossing buddy, and now I don't really have to worry too much because I'm going to cut them out from this piece, but I want to do some embossing in some gold. So I'm going to bring in my Versamark first of all, and I'm just going to bring the Versamark directly to the stamp because it is a larger stamp. I just want to press that down and give it a moment to sort of absorb that Versamark, and then I'm actually going to do my 2 smaller ones as well while I'm at it. I figure I may as well emboss them all in one go. Okay, stamp this one up here. Now I've asked my son to be quiet. He is in a room pretty adjacent to here. So let's hope he behaves because he can be very loud. Okay, so I've got my embossing tray. These are really handy to have. They're the Embossing Editions toolkit, and they come with a little paintbrush and one of those embossing buddies that I used and a pair of reverse tweezers. They're handy for jobs like this where I can just tap that back into the tray. They're about $40 something in the store. They're very good to have. I'm just going to give that a tap again, and then I've got my gold embossing powder all over there. Now what you can do is with this funnel piece, I can tap this back into my little bottle, and then I can pop that back in there and I can wipe that out later. I just wanted to make sure it was mostly cleaned up because I am prone to having disasters. Now let's bring in our heat tool. So I like to let it heat up for a second before I go to use it. Should be pretty good. And I'm going to go from underneath. It doesn't really matter if you hit emboss from the top or underneath. I just like to do mine from the underside. You can see that beautiful embossing melting and giving us that gold shine. Embossing really is stunning. Okay, so I'll move over to the smaller butterflies. You can see now that that bigger butterfly is all melted. Okay, so that's got my 3 shiny butterflies done. Now we're going to do some basic inking. So I'm going to take, it's a little bit warped, but that's totally fine because we're actually going to die cut these out. I'm going to bring in my Moody Mauve ink pad, which is also very new and very clean because I just did not use this colour much. And so it was fun to do this video this week and sort of bring it out and have a go at using it. So I'm just going to add a bit of ink to my brush here. And I'm going to start off a little bit and just go round my butterfly. That was probably a bit strong. Now, the reason you might be wondering why on the earth I'm colouring these before I'm die cutting them, and that's because I actually didn't really want a white border around the die cut. So you could die cut it and then do it, but it's a bit fiddly then to hold it while you've got the piece cut out. Now I'm coming back in and adding a bit of that darker colour centred towards the middle. Now I'm aware that this will look like a hot mess until I really get that and get it die cut out of the sheet. So I'm just going to do the same with these 2 butterflies. I'm just tapping off and then going around my butterfly. So doing it this way is going to eliminate that white edge because you're colouring that in. I'm coming back in and sort of adding some darker to the centre. Okay, so see how messy that looks? Now let's cut it out. So I'm going to come in with I realise I've got my sheet on here, so that's going to make this a bit painful, but that's okay. I'm just going to take my sheet of butterflies and then I want to grab out my dies. This has some really cool detailed dies in it as well, which I'm also using and I've done ahead of time. I will show you that when I get to it. So I want my big butterfly. Now I did forget a bit, but I can do it after. It's all right. I'm trying to line them up while having my head not too much in the way of the camera. So hopefully these little dots up here at the top of the antennae is to help you line it up so you can see better. You should be able to see a little bit of gold from that antennae to see that you've got it lined up, but it's harder to do when you're trying not to get your head in the way. So that was pretty good considering I had to eyeball some of that. Okay, so I'll put this one to the side and then I want to do my smaller ones. So these ones I found a little bit trickier to line up, but they've got the same thing with those little holes to look through. And then our final one, stick that one on. And then while we've got the die cut machine out, I'm going to use that really cool plate die with all the dots. And we're going to just cut into our background piece. So let me just double check. I've got the right sizes here. I believe it's this one that we need. So I want to take this whole background piece. Now this is called the Pattern of Friendship die. I did forget to mention that. I just double check. Yes, Pattern of Friendship die. Very, very cool. Now what I'm going to do for this one is I'm actually going to put the plate face up. So the other side you'll see is flat. I'm going to put this face up and I'm going to place my layer right on top there because my layer is almost the same size as that die. I'm going to place it down. This will leave indentations into this plate because you are cutting it with that die facing upwards. And then because it's got all those little pricks of the die in the cardstock, it does stick a little bit, but if you just take a pick tool or something to pop, I'll do just to pop under there to release that corner, you'll hear it peel up off those. That would be a cool ASMR video, wouldn't it? So then you get this beautiful background. So that one is definitely worth having. I love it. Okay, so I can pull my machine out of the way now. And we've got our bits and pieces. Now what I wanted to say was with these, because we've added colour over the embossing, it's good to get a paper towel or something and see you'll get a little bit of ink on there. That's the ink that's sitting on top of that heat embossed piece. So you just want to remove that ink so that it doesn't dull that shine. So just give it a good wipe with a bit of paper towel and then those pieces can sit there ready to go. Okay, so the next pick we want to do is do a little bit more inking and I don't want to make a total muddy mess of my background panel here. So I'm just going to pull this in. Got my Moody Mauve ink again and my blending brush. And I'm just going to add some ink. This is, I forget, because I haven't used much of this pad, it's very inky. So I don't really need to go as strong. So I'm going to go around the whole outside edge of this piece. It's probably why it looks more like Blackberry Bliss sometimes because I really haven't used it much. That technique with doing the butterflies also is really quick and easy. You don't have to use blends. You can literally just take one of these blending brushes and colour right over the top. Okay, pretty good. That will dull down a little bit as it dries. You can actually come in and add a bit of spritzing if you want. So you can take your either Stampin' Up marker or your blending brush and add a little bit of spritzing. You are going to cover that centerpiece. So when I say that, you're going to see a little bit more of the, not as much of this blending sort of vignette look because you are going to cover this section. So you could even add it darker again over those edges because, you know, you're going to cover that middle section. The other bit of blending we want to do is we want to take our arches. We're going to take the wood grain one, and all we're going to do is once again add a little bit of blending around the outside. And the cool thing about that is it's really going to pick up on that wood grain texture. So this is sort of going to replace the blending that you cover up with the arch dye. You can come in and make sure you got it nice and dark on those edges, and then lead into having it a bit lighter in those middle sections. So I'm just adjusting the pressure that I use the brush. So I've got it heavier on these outside pieces, and then I work my way into being a little bit lighter. You can also come in and do a little bit of spritzing on that piece if you want. Let's pop this out of the way. Now you might be wondering why I've cut out so many arches. The reason for that is I actually wanted this panel to be dimensional. Now I don't know how well you're going to be able to see in the video, but a couple of things. I didn't want to put it on Stampin' Dimensionals because I really like that solid look of how thick this arch is. It just gives a completely different look. But the other really cool thing is that when you cut these dies, this paper is not white cord. So it doesn't have a white core. I mean, the Stampin' Up actually dye their cardstock all the way through. So when you die cut and you cut a piece that's going to reveal a core, you actually don't, because the cardstock is really nicely dyed all the way through. So what that does when doing this technique is that you're not going to have white showing. You're actually going to have the same color, if that makes sense. So it gives a really nice 3D but really solid look. So I thought it's also a great way if you're a demonstrator and you don't keep retired product. This is another great way to use up some of that cardstock, because obviously I've needed to cut quite a few arches here. So now what I want to do though is I want to adhere them all together. So I'm going to add a little bit of liquid glue, and I'm just going to start positioning them together. Now to make sure they're nice and even, I'm just tapping them onto my sheet, onto my table, sorry, to make sure I've got it all lined up nicely. So I want to add glue, and then I'm going to add my next one, make sure that's all flat and sitting nice. That's why I also like to use glue, because you can move the position a little bit if you don't quite have it even. Sit this next one down, make sure it's nicely nice, and you can feel it getting nice and thick now. Now the last layer is our wood grain. So I'm just going to make sure, because it's the last layer, I don't want to have any bits lifting up. So I'm just going to set my wood grain piece on top and make sure it's nicely lined up around all the edges. And then I have this really nice thick piece. It does add some weight to the front of the card, so just be aware of that. Now we've got our panel that we have added some sponging blending to. I'm going to just distress this top right corner. So I'm running my bone folder over that top corner, and that's going to break down those fibers. And I'm going to sort of, I like to call it a dog ear. It's like when you're reading a book and you fold the page over to know where you are. Sort of the same thing. I'm just going to curl that back and forth. And then I can come in. Now, because I have die cut it, it actually has sort of helped to break down the fibers anyway. Now I'm just going to fold it back to sort of create a messy dog-eared look up the top there. So you can leave that bit off if that's not really your style. I've got a layer of Moody Mauve that's slightly bigger, and I want to adhere this to that layer. So I'm just going to stick and add a bit of glue to my back here. I'm going to stick that one down just evenly onto my layer of Moody Mauve. Okay. And now I can stick this piece to my basic beige card base. So I'm going to stick that flat. I'm not adding dimension because I've got enough dimension going on here. So I'm going to stick this one down to the card base. Basic beige is another great colour to stock up on before the price rise. Now I'm going to take my arches that I've laid up and I'm just going to add a bit of glue. And because this is quite a thick piece, I'm making sure I apply a decent amount of glue there. And then I'm going to stick this on top, sort of centered onto my card. Just holding that there for just a second. Now I'm almost ready to start placing everything together, but what we might do is prep the sentiment. So I'm going to take the sentiment that says wishing you a beautiful birthday, because I'm still on a mission to increase my birthday card stash that got critically low. So I've got a small scrap of Moody Mauve. So we're really going to town with using up our colours. And now I'm just going to add a bit of Versamark again to my sentiment. And then I'm just going to stamp that down. And then let's bring in, this is a different tray, don't worry, I haven't got my gold on there. I'm just going to add in my white. Now, as you can see, there's a bit of embossing powder stuck over here. That's what this included brush in the kit is great for, to remove any of those extra bits of embossing powder that you don't want there. Now, there's just this little bit that does not want to come, but that's okay because you're not going to see that. So let's bring in our heat tool again. I'll sit this to the side. Okay, so that's got our heat embossed sentiment. Now what we're going to do with that sentiment is we are going to fussy cut it out, but it's relatively an easy one to fussy cut. Sorry, I'm just taking a drink. Okay. I've got don't mind my gold on my scissors, by the way. I've got a gazillion pairs of scissors, and these ones here are my better fussy cutting ones, so I marked them with a gold paint pen. I should just put a dangle off them. Okay, so I'm just going around my straight words here. So I'm just going to cut directly around them. And with the more curvy script, I'm going to come in and just fussy cut around those curves. So the trick is to move the paper and then cut away any excess paper as you go, so you're not hanging on to more than what you need. Okay, so gently curve the paper around those scissors, and that way you don't get those jaggedy cuts. Fussy cutting is, I think, something you learn over time and it gets easier. So I'm going to cut away that extra so I'm not hanging on to more paper than what I need. And I'm just coming in and around some of those letters, coming back up, and then I'm going to cut this straight. So I'm going to cut along the top, and then I've got this nice fussy cut sentiment. Okay, so let's, oopsie, I tossed it on the floor. Okay, so now what I want to do is prep my bit of twine. So in these in colours, there was really cool jute, and the jute is really quite thick, if you can see there. Now, if you don't want to use it thick, which I find it a struggle to use something as thick, what you can do is take the threads apart, and it's really easy. So what I'm going to do is I've pulled one out, and then you'll find that there's about three different sets of threads there. So what I'm going to do is actually take one, and then I'm going to twist as I go. Now, I forgot to mention that this is about 50 centimetres long, this twine, or 25 inches. That's the length that I've used for my card. Now, I'm sort of holding this piece while twisting the jute with one hand, and that's going to release that individual piece. Now, what I'm going to do is on my card, I want 2 individual strands. So essentially, I'm removing one strand from this set of 3. So you can see now it's got a bit of a curly appearance. It's really cute. Now what I want is I'm actually going to untwist this one as well. Even though I want 2, I want it to not be twisted together. So I'm doing the same thing. I'm just unraveling that twine. Okay, I'll do jute or twine. So when you do this, it's got more of the sort of thickness of linen thread, which I find easier to work with. Okay, so now I want to stick 2 of these back together again, and then I'm going to tie my favourite double bow. So I'm using them together, and I'm just going to tie a double bow with these. Okay. Tie that off nicely, and then we can reduce those tails in a moment. So what I want to do is start putting my card together. I have pre-die cut a couple of pieces here. So out of the Sketch Butterflies dies, I have cut these 2 pieces out of basic beige, and I've cut these 2 individual pieces out of gold foil. The gold foil ones we're going to use on the inside of the card. So I'm just going to pull out my basic beige ones, and we're going to start putting the card together. I'm going to add a little bit of blue to the middle sections of these butterflies here. I love that these are joined. It's super cute. Now I want to place this towards the left-hand side a little bit. I'm going to have the top butterfly sort of hanging off that arch just a bit. And then I want to add in one of my medium-sized butterflies, and I'm going to add that down towards the left hand, the bottom left. And then before I stick my big butterfly, I actually want to place my twine on. Now I found it easiest to apply that with a little bit of a glue dot. So I'm just going to pull a glue dot off, and I want that sort of coming up here somewhere. So I'm just going to add a glue dot and stick that down. And then I'm just going to trim my tails a little bit. I can trim them more after if I need to. I want to come in with my big butterfly, and I'm going to place that over the top, but I'm going to add that with some Stampin' Dimensionals, and I'm just using the edge of my mini Stampin' Dimensionals, but you can use whatever you have. So I'm just going to place that coming over the center of that twine that we've got there. And then I want to add in a couple other pieces. So I'm going to bring in my sentiment. I'm going to have that sort of sitting on top of the bottom of that butterfly, but some of it's hanging off. So I want to add a dimensional to the bit that's going to be hanging off the side there. And then we can come in and add a bit of glue here. That's going to be touching that butterfly there. So if we stick that down, I'm just going to hold it for a second while that glue adheres. And then we have another of our basic beige little tiny butterflies. I'm going to grab a glue dot for that one. Stick it in the center there. Pull that off. And then I want to stick my little butterfly coming down here somewhere. So I've got it just about there now. You can sort of fiddle with the twine now if you really want to, or the jute. And I'm going to sort of have that tucked up. So it's coming up there. One of the cards I had it coming down, but I actually preferred it to be sitting up a little bit. So I'm just going to trim that jute a little bit. And then I want to add a little bit of Winter Stella, of course. So I'm just going to spritz some over the card. And then we want to add some embellishments. So I've got a couple of different things. I've got these brushed brass butterflies. So if you can see, these are beautifully shiny. I'm going to add a couple of these. I want to add a big one. I'm going to add that down here. And then I'm going to add one of the small ones just up here. Now, I wanted to have some coordinating embellishments. I know that there are actually, I believe I've got them up here somewhere. There are some in-colour embellishments, and you'll see them, they look like this. You could use those to coordinate with the card, but I actually wanted something a little bit more shiny. So I have got my basic rhinestones, and I'm going to take a Stampin' Blend in the same colour. So this is my Moody Mauve, and I'm actually going to colour my rhinestones to match. So I just wanted to do this because I wanted that beautiful sparkly shine from the rhinestone, but I still wanted it to be matching with colour. So stamping blends can colour a lot of things, from ribbon to paper, embellishments, all sorts of things. So the cool thing about that is you can make them colour coordinate with our Stampin' Up supplies for whatever colour you're working in. So I'm just going to add these onto my card now. I'm going to pull in a couple and sort of add them to the centre of those smaller butterflies in there. And then I've got a couple of small ones which I'm going to bring in and add to the card. So I've got five of those rhinestones in total. It's always the last one that you just don't know where to put. So that's the front of the card done. So it was pretty easy and really, really fun. Now let's do a quick inside. I'm going to bring in my piece of basic white, and I'm going to see what's left on this blending brush now. So I'm just going to add in a little bit of that Moody Mauve to the bottom right-hand corner. Go a bit stronger here so I can get some of that ink happening. And then just blend that out. I'll add a bit of spritzing with my Moody Mauve again. Then I've got one of these butterflies left, so I'm going to stick that onto the bottom here. And then with my 2 gold butterflies, I'm going to add those on because I thought, you know, I'm just going to go to town making these cards all about that colour with a touch of gold and lots of butterflies. That was what I was going for. I think I did pretty good because I've got lots of that happening on the cards. Okay, so I'll stick that there, and then I want to add this to my layer of Moody Mauve. I can't wait to see what you've all said is your favourite colour. Believe me that this time of year is when the colours start selling out, long before they announce what's retiring, because everyone knows that these colours are going. So don't delay on getting those colours ordered. I know that I'm going to miss my wild wheat a lot. Wild wheat was a great alternative for gold as well, even with a lot of things, the cardstock and the blends. Okay, so I stuck that inside the card. So that is done. Look how pretty that Moody Mauve is. So I had a lot of fun making that, and I've made some matching envelopes to match. So I've got my Moody Mauve, my Pebbled Path, Copper Clay, Boho Blue, and Wild Wheat. So I've got matching envelopes for them all ready to go. So that was 6 cards done, and I got to use those colours before we say goodbye to them. I wanted to give them some love. So do let me know what's your fave, and don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel if you want to see some more. And I did also want to mention we have our upcoming class at the Stamping Lounge happening this month, and we're going to be using Wildflower Birthday. If you want to join in on those monthly classes, you can find the information here. So you only have to head to www.thestampinglounge.com, and that will give you all the information about our monthly membership. I run classes every month here with the girls, with Maheshwari Rajaguru and Rochelle Laird-Smith. And we've got lots of content on there from classes. We've got a whole beginner's course if you're just a beginner or you want to touch up on some of those skills. We have techniques, we have sketches, we have colour combinations, we have lots and lots going on over there. So if you want to check that out, you can hit the link in the video description and that will take you right there. It's $24.95 Australian per month, but that is open worldwide, and we have a fun community full of crafters. So I think that was about it. I will see you guys back next week. Not 100% sure if I'll be live or if it'll be pre-recorded yet, because we are edging towards moving house, so I'm having to get a bit organised. But no doubt I will still be here, and I'll check out my page because I've probably shared some stuff from the fun on-stage event that I'm at right now. So thanks for watching, guys. Have an amazing rest of your weekend, and I will see you next week. Bye.